It says setting up your meeting. It's almost done.
Okay.
All right, here we go. We are live. I am so excited to be here today with the beautiful Wani Manley. And I am going to go ahead and introduce her, and then we are going to dive into some really juicy, perhaps even provoking content. So get ready and let us know if you are here live. You can post in the comment section. And if you have any questions throughout our time together, we will also be answering your questions, which is just, we're going to have so much fun. We've chatted a bit before, and every time we get on, it doesn't matter if we're voice messaging one another or we're live like this, we are just having a total blast, which is how business is meant to be done. And we're going to let you know how to do that in a way that you can without worrying about some crazy crap that can go down in your business, girl. Hold on. I'm going to read to you about this amazing woman. Attorney, speaker, best-selling author, and certified life coach, Wani Iris Manley is corporate, business, securities, and trademark law attorney and inspirational keynote speaker, certified life coach, and two-time best-selling author. She is the founder of the law firm W. Manley, PA, a boutique corporate and securities law firm she started in 2008 in good old Miami, Florida, with offices in Paris, while serving some of the most recognized companies, including Mastercard International Incorporated, Visa Incorporated, and Office Depot Incorporated, to name a few. Wani is also the founder of Where Inspiration Meets Law, LLC, which provides legal contracts and document templates for entrepreneurs, coaches, heart-centered, and impact-driven businesses and creatives to legally protect their businesses while fulfilling their purpose-driven mission in the world. She is the best-selling author of Get Out of Survival Mode and Live the Life You Really Want. There is a Spirituality and Then There Is Truth, which is publishing in 2020, and is currently writing her third book, 84 Rue No. I don't know if I'm gonna pronounce this right because my background's in Spanish, not French. Nole. Did I get that right? Maybe. Nole.
Yeah.
The two times I have been in France, I knew how to say parlez-vous anglais. This is a story depicting of her daredevil move to Paris in 2012, a city where Wani knew no one, not one word of French. Now look at her, without a plan A, B, or C, purely on universal signs over the course of a year that led her to the iconic City of Lights. Talk about impressive. As a leading global speaker on living life to the fullest, Wani empowers audiences to stop acting as if life is a dress rehearsal, that tomorrow is guaranteed, and to instead live the life that they really want and to be unapologetic about it. Along with maintaining her law practice and speaking, Wani also consults for French companies and organizations in their humanitarian missions in Africa and expansion into the US market. More info about Wani can be found at wanimanley.com, and I will post that link down below of the Facebook group. And welcome, Wani.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everybody.
So amazing to be here with you. I know that when we spoke recently, we just got into so many juicy conversations because, as I was posting earlier on my own profile, I have myself experienced chargebacks in my business that I have had to make. I actually fortunately have never had anyone make a chargeback against my company in the 10 plus years that I've been doing coaching and consulting. But I learned a lot, and it's something that I've brought into teaching my clients about. And I think everything that you're offering, everything that you're teaching is something that is so needed in the coaching and consulting space, especially now. So could you just share a little bit more with us about the mistakes that you're seeing happen in the marketplace at the moment?
Well, the biggest mistake that I'm actually finding is that there just seems to be, because the coaching industry is unregulated, so there's not like an ethical body that actually everybody has to follow. But there's this like operation above the law in a sense, right? I mean, there's astronomical income. I mean, there is no ceiling how much you can actually make. And the way things are actually being carried out, it's like, there's just this level of unawareness of what really is actually legal. I don't think it's actually being intentionally done. It's just people are just not quite aware of it. But what I'm seeing right now is that, it's like there's a pendulum swing from going from it's all energy to now it's all about structure. And what I'm seeing, at least from my newsfeed and what I'm being tagged on, is that you have a lot of unhappy clients that are now like looking, they bought into the whole overinflated marketing. They get into a program and are not getting the results, and they're not buying the whole gaslighting of, it's your this, it's your that. It's like people want answers. And so they're looking to recourse, through chargebacks. And so what coaches are finding out is that they're losing because, number one, they don't quite know the payment processor that they're working with. Is it pro the client, or is it pro, pro them, And so, and they don't quite know how to actually protect themselves actually against that, right? There are certain things that you can do, or you should be doing for your business, that no one's actually doing that. And there's no way they can actually defend against those chargebacks, because the thing about it is that, those things are in place to protect the consumer. The reason why typically the PayPals, the Stripes, and everything else, the WooCommerce, whatever you're using, they're going to fight against or for the consumer because of fraud. That's actually why it's there. And so the burden is actually on the coach or the business owner to override that and say, listen, I've got all my ducks in a row. I actually went through, not only having proper documentation, but in actual, like, in effectuating this contract, meaning I legally executed it, because there's a way to execute contracts that the coaching industry is clueless of, that really makes, I say, 99% of the contracts null and void, means unenforceable if it was actually challenged at all, either whether it's going to be in court or whether it's going to be in a chargeback situation.
Yeah, and I have firsthand witnessed a class action lawsuit with a company that I used to work for and consult with, and it was not pretty. I can assure you of that, depending upon how many people are involved. But the interesting thing to me as a business strategist and success coach for women entrepreneurs is just how much people, they see the glitz, they see the glamour, they see the, hey, I'm having 10K months. They never, half the time, even ask the coach, by the way, what's your profit margin? Because that's really all that matters at the end of the day. I don't care if you're making $5 million. If you still don't have a profit margin, it doesn't matter. You're no better off than someone making 50,000, but they have a $30,000 profit margin.
Right.
But in my own coaching with so many women over the years, regardless of location, vocation, or education, they all tend to have the same issue that I'm uncovering right at the starting gate, where perhaps they don't have a separate business checking account, or perhaps they don't have contracts, or what I see commonly happen, and I will be completely transparent, as I always am with my audience, when I very, very first started my own coaching business at the beginning of 2010, I did this. And I don't know how many people would actually admit to this, but I'm going to admit to it live here on Facebook. That I had a friend in my very first coaching program that I was in, and the coach wasn't even telling you, hey, you need to get these things done before you ever sign on a first client. It was always about go make the money, go make the money. You do this later. And the problem is that people never do it later. And so what I did is I actually had a friend who was she went through the International Coaching Certification Foundation, which I know you're familiar with. And she gave me a copy of a contract that she was using that I then copied and put, Rebecca's story on the bottom and all that stuff. And it totally was pointless, right? I think maybe even the only thing that was protecting me was letting people know that this was not a substitute for psychotherapeutic treatment. So let's just get to the nuts and bolts here right at the beginning and talk about the biggest mistakes that people are making right at the beginning. But I also want to leave people with a ray of hope, because that's what we do here in the Living Your Best Life world of coaching that we work in, is that it's never too late to get started. It's never too late to take a pause and say, you know what? I really do need to get organized. I need to be a responsible business owner in service to my own self and treat my business like a company. That's what a lot of people also don't do. Right. But also in service to my clients. And then I can be more, I think here's the big thing, and then we'll dive into the big mistakes that you're seeing in the nuts and bolts. But the biggest thing for me is I believe we're living in an energetic era, and energy is everything. Like when people are attracted to you, a lot of it, and you even said this to me last week, you're like, your energy is amazing. Just being on the, Zoom call with you, I feel completely transformed, which makes me feel so happy. But one of the reasons that people are able to do that is because they don't have fragmented energy over here going, oh, holy shit, I hope nobody sues me. Oh, holy shit, I hope no one does a chargeback. So when you have your structures in place, you get to show up fully as the brilliant coach, consultant, healer, women entrepreneur, leader, whatever it is in your business, in your company, for your team, for your clients, for everyone. But until you have these things and you're, I guess we say in America, your ducks in a row, right? Yeah. that you are leaking energy because there's some part of your higher wisdom that knows that there's an issue.
Right. Exactly. And, you know, and it all shows up, you know, like you said, within these, like within the leaks. But I mean, the first, you hit on the nail. The first thing is like, go make the money rather, as opposed to coming to, you know, to come and see a lawyer. And it's like, I've been dealing with corporations my entire, like big corporations. And the first thing that they, before they open up, they put a sign up, I'm open for business. They come and see an attorney, go see an CPA, because they know those two people are the most vital for their, you know, for their existence, for the business, you know. And I'll tell you, like, just even 2 nights ago, I spoke to a woman who, she had a human design, or she's been she just started a human design reading business, and she had no corporation, but she was about to set up her business. And she was like, my biggest issue, Wani, is I own a home in California and I want my home to be protected. But she was just about to go and set up a sole proprietorship, which, you know, I don't know many people know this, but it doesn't protect you at all. The whole point of having a corporation is a legal separation between like your personal liability and from the business debts. And so I was able to really like curtail that mistake for her. So it's like, go and see an attorney first and foremost before you get the weight to start your business. I mean, nobody wants to hear that. It's like, you know what? Rather, before you start your business, go and see an attorney first, and, you know, talk and get your CPA, everything set up, your corporate structure, and then get your contracts going, and then go out there and try to get, you know, and start getting the clients. Because, you know, when we're talking about energy, it's like, you're not going to be able to, the universe is not going to send you like a boatload of clients, as this woman found out, if you're not adequately prepared to receive all those people, right? And that's what she realized, like, oh my God, like, I need to be using disclaimers. And of course, people can actually sue me because I'm not making any disclaimers saying, hey, you're responsible for your own earnings, or you're responsible for, this is for entertainment purposes only. You know, this is not medical advice, whatever her reading was going to actually say. And she realized that that was a big block, because she was like, whoa, first it was like an avalanche, like Niagara Falls, and then it became like the Sahara Desert. So first and foremost, go and see an attorney and get what your legal structure is. The biggest thing I would say, the next biggest mistake is how you are legally, how you're signing on clients, right? And so because there's such a push about the money, let's make the money, let's make the money, people are accepting money first and then giving a contract. That's illegal. That makes the contract null and void. Unenforceable means people don't have to actually pay you. You have to actually give it at the exact same time, and the client has to have the opportunity to review the contract and then sign it. It's as if to say, you know, people don't really quite follow. It's like, for example, it's, you know, when you go to a store to buy something, right? And you'll notice if it's a sale, there's like 1,000 sales saying final sale, final sale, final sale. But imagine like if that wasn't the case, right? You go to a store, you buy something and you didn't try it on, you pay the money, and then like the clerk hands you like the item and she goes, oh, by the way, that's a final sale. And like, you can't, that's exactly what's happening in that scenario here. So that's why, and that's like basic contract law 101. So when you're signing on your 101 contracts, give them the contract and the invoice, okay? Like send them an email and give them the opportunity, and just trust that, you know, you don't have to like get it like that. They're gonna come to you, and that, you know, but give them the opportunity to actually review the contract and then come back with the payment, and not the other way around.
No, 100%. And I would love for you to speak to, because I think some people tend to have this thought where they're like, well, what about a verbal contract? I mean, they told me yes on the phone. They gave me their credit card number over the phone. So let's just break it down.
Absolutely not. You would never get anywhere in a court of law with anything verbal. You won't get anything with, you know, back and forth WhatsApp messages. You won't get anything back. It's what's in the four corners. It's like, no one's going to believe you in court. You won't have a leg to actually stand on. Speaking of taking people's credit cards over the phone, that's an absolute no. You should never, ever do that. And here's why. In order for you to take credit cards or payments over the phone, you need to make sure that your phone line is PCI compliant. Like there is like, which means like there you have secured, that you're on a secured line to actually take somebody's credit card over the phone. Because let's just say, and it's not far-fetched, Like you're taking someone's credit card, someone taps into your phone and they get that, that number and they make the purchase. Guess who's on the hook for that? Your business
Right.
on the hook, your business insurance, if you have one, will not actually cover for that. Equally as well to your personal liability, you'll be personally liable for that. And I'll tell you, it's not very far-fetched. I'm over here in Paris. I'm in the 5th, right by Notre Dame. In the 8th, close to the Elysee Palace, it's not uncommon if you're on the phone to hear Secret Service tapping into your phone. And like, you can literally, it's happened to me so many times. I have a girlfriend who lives over there and she's like, in the middle of the night, her phone would just like ring randomly and it's like Secret Service like tapping into her phone. So you never ever want to do that. You never want to take someone's payment over the phone, unless you're maybe if you were like at WeWork and WeWork has some type of secured line. But if it's just you on your personal cell phone in your home, like absolutely not. And then the other thing too is like from an enforceability standpoint, right? Because I mean, I used to breach a contract litigation case when I first started, and you're always looking to poke holes into, okay, is this contract valid, right? How was it executed, right? And it's like the biggest thing in court or in contract law is like the other party, because the contract means a meeting of the minds in an agreement. And you want the other party have enough time to actually review it. Now, I've been on sales calls where, they read the whole script, paint you the whole picture, and then what if it doesn't change 6 months from now? They make you cry, and then all of a sudden, okay, let's get started. And like, what's your credit card? You know what I mean? It's like, that's a no-no, too. That's not a valid contract. So like those things, and people aren't aware of that, so stop doing it, please. And people may not take it in court, but I'll tell you what, these are all, everything I'm actually saying right here, these are absolute grounds where you would not win a chargeback. Because guess what? The PayPals, the Stripes, they have a legal team that knows all of this stuff. They're going to be asking, by the way, how did you accept the contract? Would you do it by phone? Or, they're going to be asking all the things. And if you can't provide actual proof of that, guess what? The chargeback goes against you.
Absolutely. So from your perspective, why do you think that people put this off?
What I find with entrepreneurs, they view legal as something as an expense, and something that as an expense that you need to do, or you get to do when when shit hits the fan, right? They don't see it as an investment as a corporation does. Like I said, a corporation, before they do anything, they're going to come and see a lawyer and get everything set up and then go open the doors, right? Whereas entrepreneurs, it's just, and there's also like most people, especially nowadays, it's so easy to start a business with Facebook, with social media. You can just do a Facebook post, say, hey, I'm a business owner, you can take on clients, right? And so there's just like a hustle mentality, like, let me make the money. And it's also to like not really being educated to say, okay, what does meaning having a business like actually really mean, right? Because you've got like a sole proprietor corporate structure, which really isn't a business at all. It's literally you as the business, you're still personally responsible for it. So it's just, there's just not this scene, it's a perception issue. They're not seeing legal as, hey, this is an investment for my business. This is how I'm actually going to actually grow. To them, they think legal is expensive. And that's true, but it's also true that there's many different options. There's pro bono to document templates, which I'm creating now, to everything in between, to flat fee services, to hybrids, to contingency fees. So it's like, there's no excuse to say that it's expensive because there's everything out there for everyone.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, so many of my clients, I have said to them, this is your business equipment. Mm-hmm. And actually, people in the coaching and consulting space, in my personal opinion, are getting off pretty cheap and easy. And I always use the example of a restaurant or a spa or a salon that, you can't say, well, I'm going to shampoo and cut hair and do color and highlights, or I'm going to serve this meal on what table? Like, if you don't buy equipment, or you don't have a shampoo bowl, or you don't have products to put in someone's hair, or utensils for someone to eat a meal, or the food to cook for them, how are you in any way going to possibly serve that client and make the money first? But a lot of entrepreneurs that I see in the industry, they tend to not also have a business plan, which, as you're saying, a lot of these corporations, part of their business plan and their budget is to be budgeting for this up front. So meeting people where they are and knowing that a fair amount of people have not gotten these structures in place. They probably can't answer the question if we were to directly ask them right now. And in fact, why not? So if you're watching this, whether you're watching this live or you're watching the replay, do you have these structures set up? And really get honest with yourself. Why not? Really getting honest with yourself, because until you get really honest with yourself, you cannot determine where it is that you need to go next. But if you don't have these structures in place, like, could you answer the question if someone did a chargeback through your payment platforms, do you think you would win? And most people would say no. In fact, that's something that I experienced back in 2016, I think I had shared with you, where a group of us had flown to San Francisco. This woman put on this event. She ended up being a complete and total con woman, or whatever you call a con person. And literally, I think at least 20 people did chargebacks. And that was the incident where I learned about, because I was talking to all these people that I was friends with that were at this live event that didn't really, what was promised was not what was delivered. And so each of us individually did a chargeback on the investment amount that we made to be presenters at her live event. And I think there was someone who had gone through American Express, someone who had paid through PayPal, all the different platforms. And so it was a really great example for me as a business owner to see what the different platforms were, how they were handling it, and who got refunds and who didn't, and who had to provide documentation and who didn't. It was just a really interesting thing to know. So what would you say for people meeting them where they are, for the people who are choosing to get honest and say, you know what, I didn't set up my business structure properly, but my point of power is always in the present moment. And so right now I have the ability to clean up the mess and be able to move forward with clean energy and be in greater service to the people that I am serving. What would you say for them to do?
The first thing I'm saying, come see me.
Totally, right? And her link is literally in this post.
I would say, like, literally, like, come see me and let's just see wherever you're at, right? And we'll see, and we'll do like you know, a triage, or just see exactly if it's from the very beginning where you don't have a corporate, you don't have you're not incorporated. Okay, we're incorporated. If you have someone else's contract, okay, let's scrap that and create one actually for you. And let's just talk about where you're actually going. Let's talk about, you know, like, we'll look and see, okay, exactly how are you actually onboarding people? Like, are you legally, you know, in terms of like what I talked about, you know, presenting both the contract. And so we can talk it through. I'll do a consultation. So go and see people. Do not, you know, there is someone out there for you to see. If it's not me, there's some lawyer out there you can afford at any single price, whether it's free or if it's like $5 million, like, to really get your business in order. And you have to understand too, it's like, it's all part of the whole abundance package. You know, it's like, it's part of it too. And it's not this, you know, it's part of the whole divine masculine, like it's part of the whole container. So unless that starts really being, you know, in line, like you were talking about the energy leaks, you know, you're going to have like holes and things like that. So I would say come see a lawyer. Don't do it on your own. Like, do not do it on your own. Stop Google lawyering. If you're making up your own contracts, stop all of that. You know what I mean? It's like, if that's what you've done before, like, tear everything up. And it's like, you know what, just like, say, okay, how much, what do I need? Okay, here it is. You know, like, I'm going to make this happen because, and like I always tell people, like, legal is not something that you do every single week. It's something you do at the very center of your business. And of course, okay, if there's like a material change, for example, when you're making like 2K versus when you're making 40K, hello, we need to look at that business, that corporation, to make sure that from a tax perspective, you're actually maximizing and, like, you know, utilizing those dollars, right? Because everyone's preaching 10K, 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 but no one's seen how to actually manage that. So, or unless, like, okay, when you're trying to scale, so now you're going from, you know, one-to-one to a group, you know, to a membership. That's a whole nother legal angle that nobody knows about, that no one's actually following, because they think it's, you know, it's actually subject to as a specific law like the FTC, but no one's following that. So it's like, then you come and see as you're growing, but that's like 1 month here, 6 months, 7 months, you know, and that's what you do. So it's one thing you set up once in your business and you're good to go for a while.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's imperative. And I think the key that you're talking about here is it's really about having an ongoing relationship. I mean, everyone who wants to grow their business and create long-term success, you know, business, I say, is never like this, ever, ever, ever. But but you need to have that support ongoing throughout your business growth. But one of the things that I want to bring attention to here, because you and I talked the other day, like this is not necessarily the sexy part of business, which is probably another reason why people put it off, because they're all enamored with the money, right? They're like, I want to sell the programs. I want to do this. I see other people doing this. And first of all, I just got to say this. You really never truly know what's going on behind closed doors. But I teach that your business it's like a relationship. You have a relationship with your business. You have a relationship with money. You have a relationship with your friends and family. You have a relationship with perhaps a higher power. And if you think about it, I always try and draw a parallel. If you were like in a relationship with a significant other, right? And you were like, you know what, let me just go get this used thing to take care of you. It's like the self-care for your business, but it's like borrowing a contract from someone else and editing it. If you think about it, there's really no moral integrity in that. And it's kind of just like, you know, hey, oh, you're cold. I've got this old jacket from a former lover. Why don't you just put this on? So you just have to think about the current relationship that you have with your business and think of it. So fortunately for me, very early on, one of my dear friends who is a very successful multimillionaire entrepreneur, and you know, the way that I was handling my money in my business at the very beginning, and she was like, well, wait a minute, you're not taking out an owner's draw. I mean, this was like within the very first year. I was a brand new baby. But and she said, Rebecca, you are stealing from your business. And I was like, what? And it totally freaked me out, but it made me completely view things. And I think people in the coaching and consulting space, they just aren't either getting educated, they're not taking the time. No one's requiring a business plan. Now, if you go to a bank and you want to open up, like I said, a salon or a restaurant, you have to provide them with a business plan that's going to perhaps be ridiculed. And they might say, you know what, it's not good enough, go back, rewrite it and try it again. But I'm really grateful for very early on being exposed to really treating my business with that level of respect, that level of integrity, and getting the things in place that I needed to get in place. And listen, I've made mistakes throughout the 10 plus years that I've been doing this for sure, but I've also put the right people in my realm, you know, my kind of board of directors, if you will. And to be able to see that through that lens where you recognize that your business is indeed a third entity. But then the second follow-up question from that is, are you treating it at the, I want to make $10,000 a month level? Are you treating it at the, I want to hit $250,000 this year level? And if you're not, then you need to come back to the drawing board and take a day away from whatever else you're doing to work in your business and on your business and really clearly draw out the steps of what you need to do. And that's the beautiful thing about the services that you provide, Wani, is that, you know, it's not my area of expertise. Most people who go into the heart-centered service-based businesses, it's not their area of expertise. And that's why we need people like you. It truly is an essential, regardless of whether you set up these structures in the beginning or not, to just kind of, it's almost like getting a checkup and saying, you know, I'm actually feeling like there's an ill part of my business, if you will, or a part of my business that I didn't properly take care of. And the same way, for those of you out there who are mothers, I have two sons, you would take optimal care of your children. You need to be treating your business that way. And so if you're sitting here and you're thinking like, why am I not making money? Do I have a money block? Let me go sit down and read my tarot cards and see if there's new abundance coming in my future, right? We're saying you don't need tarot. Well, you can totally use tarot. I mean, I think it's a great tool to use, but this is a tool that's going to set you up for greater future success. But you might think what, you know, you and I were voice messaging back and forth last night, and I loved what you said. You said that this one woman you were speaking with said she went from feeling like she had clients coming in like Niagara Falls to being stuck out in the dryness of the Sahara deserts. And so if you're feeling like I don't have consistency in my business, or you're feeling like, you know, I had an influx of clients and now things have kind of dried up, maybe it's the pandemic, maybe it's not. What it could in fact be is that you are disrespecting this other entity, AKA your business, and you need to take a wellness check and look at the components that you have failed to put in place at this moment in time, and then take action and go get those things put in place so that then you can feel taken care of. And I know that when a woman feels taken care of, she operates so differently in her life and in her business.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, for me on a personal level, I'm preaching the legal structure, but I myself need personal scheduling structure. And so for me, like I have had to, my biggest task these last couple of months is, because I've been on my own for 12 years, I have my own law firm. I haven't had a boss in that long, and so I can, go to yoga for 2 hours in a day if I wanted to. And I've had to come realize like, oh my God, that was so hard in my business. Like even when I woke up in the morning and I was snoozing, that was like at the very beginning, not having a lack of commitment to myself, So for me now I'm learning how to live by the schedule, because every successful business owner that I know, they live and die by their schedule. And like, if it's not in or not, they're not actually doing it. And I realize with what I'm being entrusted to do with Where Inspiration Meets Law for the projection of it, there's just no way. That vehicle has to be on a tight ship. It's got to be, having all the ducks in a row. It's got to be, it can't be ran like willy-nilly, Like one of my former coaches told me, she was like, listen, a freedom-based business is created with structure. And you don't become a multi-millionaire or have a multiple six-figure business, by willy-nilly and just like do whatever you want. She's like, no. It's like, you've got to have all these things in place. And what I'm asking this community, this industry, is like, you've got to see that legal is actually part of it. It's like, and I can tell you my vision for this, because quite honestly with you, when I moved to Paris, I thought I was done with law, because I was like speaking and writing and personal development and writing about my life, because I wanted to be like, the next Elizabeth Gilbert, because I'm living like a version of her life in a sense, right? So I was speaking about that. And here I am coming full circle. I'm like, okay, I'm still gonna be practicing law, or it's in a different form. And it's to help, this industry. And it's like, I see why, because it's all heart-centered, right? But there's no legal structure of a backbone to it. And it's like the ship can't really like form, because it's not the beginning pieces, it just isn't there. So like, as I have found in my, when things are not going right, it comes down to structure, whether it's legal structure or whether it comes down to, wake up at a certain time, or, like put a time block in and cut off your Facebook, whatever. It all plays into it. And, and it's like, if you want to grow your business, it's like, like we're all talking with the universe, right? There's always a constant dialogue. You can't be asking for a whole bunch of clients, but not yet legally be prepared to actually like handle them. Like how will you be able to, like that woman, 20 chargebacks, that's quite a bit. You know what I mean? That's quite a bit. That's, especially from everywhere, from American Express to Stripe, and they all have, different angles of how they actually take into it. So you want to be making sure that you actually are securing the nut in a sense, to where like, you're not having these like, it's actually like, it's not a big deal to be dealing with. It's set it up. You know what I mean? It's like your funnels, right? You set it up once with your MailChimp, your integration, and it's like, and it just works seamlessly, but there's a lack of awareness, and there's a lack of, perspective of where I'm going to put this on the hierarchy of what I need. But it's right now it's 10K months, get the money.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me that people are still enamored by that and buying into it. I mean, listen, I've been in the coaching industry for 10 plus years. I've been behind the scenes of 4 different multi-million-dollar companies doing sales for them, and I have seen a lot. And, at the end of the day, what really only matters is profit margin. And do you see anyone talking about freaking profit margin? No.
Not even you didn't see people breaking down, okay, 10,000, but is that in sales? Is that in booked? Or is that actually like, my net, like when I take it home? And no one's asking questions. I'll tell you like what's been coming up. Like I was in another group today, and apparently like, so there's this whole thing where I find it's phenomenal that in an industry that uses solely income to lure people to work with them, gets pissed off when people are asking for receipts to be shown. Because everyone's portraying, hey, come work with me because I'm making 20 grand or 40 grand or whatever, but there's no income. I don't know two coaches that would show on a monthly basis, like, okay, here's my breakdown of how everything's coming. Here's what I'm actually doing. And it's like, it blows my mind that there's no questions being asked. And then when you ask the question, there's a whole spiritual bypassing and gaslighting, telling someone they're coming from a lack perspective. I'm like, no, it's a common sense perspective. It's an investment from an investor's perspective. Like, why would I go and invest my hard-earned dollars in someone who's saying I'm making 6 figures a month and I don't have no clue?
No, 100%. I mean, it's just so common. And I could, like, as you're talking, I literally could hear like certain people, their response would be like, well, you're just not a fit for my program.
I've seen that. Yeah.
We're just not a fit to work with one another. I actually only work with people who don't question the money that I make and the expenses that I have. Okay, total sarcasm, everyone. But like, seriously, please, let's all hope that that is not you. Because, you know, I mean, in my business, my top three are honesty, integrity, and authenticity. And everything that I do, how I operate in my business is always based around those three things. It's just literally part of like who I am as a person. And it would be impossible to not be honest with someone, as you have already experienced in me sharing with you. I know you're totally laughing about this, Chandra. So Anita, Chandra Bliss, that's here with us in our Zoom presentation too, she is a former apprentice of mine, and she knows I do not mess around. I tell it how it is, and we get stuff done as a result. But I just want everyone to take a moment and think, kind of just even feel into, primarily I work with women entrepreneurs. I think that's who you also primarily work with too. To just, because for women, it's a feeling thing. And I know that my life dramatically changed when I started hiring the right support and not demanding, but requiring the right support, not just with my team and in my personal life, but also in my professional life as well. I showed up as a whole entire different woman. That all took place back in 2013. I went through a huge transformation time. And I really recognized that I show up completely different when I have that level of support. And some people might be thinking, oh, well, my family's supposed to support me, or my friends are supposed to support me. But in actuality, when you're running a professional business and your expectation for that professional business is to grow and expand and impact more people, you have to be willing to invest in that entity, to invest in your own personal and professional development and expansion. And without that, you can expect stagnation. You can absolutely expect stagnation. You can expect hiccups. You can expect these kinds of things that we are talking about here today. And so, you know, as we kind of close out, what would you say, regardless of someone where they are in their business, because I don't want anyone to go into regret. I don't think that's of any service to anyone. And again, like I said earlier, the point of power is always in the present moment. So wherever you are on the journey, whether you're a brand new business owner, whether you're still in corporate and you're thinking about going into business, or you've been in business for 5 years or 10 years or what have you, where would you recommend that people get started to, as far as honesty and evaluation goes, to then have those next steps moving forward?
You know, I would say start at the, look at your contracts. First of all, do you even have contracts? You know, are you actually using one of those? And if it's something that you get off the internet, tear it up, honestly, and literally have an attorney that's actually drafted one, right? Number one. Number two is look at your website. The website, let's just look, I mean, that's where people come, that's your big business card, right? Is that actually legalized right now? Is that somebody else's stuff you put onto yours that has nothing with your business, that offers no protection whatsoever? Or is it something that maybe needs to be updated from 2019 because of GDPR? It's like, okay, let's legalize your very front end of what people actually see, right? And so you can just start from there, and you can just start little by little. It's like, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to become like, Microsoft all at once, right? If right now all you're only handling is one-on-one clients, and you just make sure, hey, I have a solid one-on-one contract. If you're doing, you know, group programs, make sure you have a solid group, you know, terms of use agreement, right? Or if you know, if you're doing readings, you know, if you're a tarot reader or whatever, make sure you have disclaimers like plastered all over your website. If you're an energy healer, you know, are you making people sign an actual, like, you know, I'm not, you know, disclaimer before you actually give them a session, every single session. So whatever is your focal point right now, let's look and see where that's at. Like, how legal are you in that space? You know, and just like to start with that, and you can, as you build and you can, and as you know, you can actually grow, right? Then let's look at the way you're actually, you know, in terms of like if you would handle in a chargeback situation or a refund, right? Like, are you actually executing when you take on these people properly, right? Number one, I just want to share a few tips with people and how you can actually defend against these chargebacks. This is the practice you want to implement. So typically for like group terms of use or group programs, you would not have like a one-to-one. First of all, let me just back up. When it comes to like contracts, you want to make sure you actually are getting an actual signature, okay? And then number two, if you're going to be using like a electronic signature, you want to make sure you're using like a platform that is actually eSign Act compliant, which means that, you know, they can actually, like, if somebody were to actually challenge a signature, which these electronic signatures get challenges all the time. And it's like, you want to be able to make sure like the company you're using, like I know HelloSign is one of these platforms, Adobe Signature, Adobe Acrobat. They want to have what you call the metadata, where like if someone says, okay, that's not my signature, that you can call them up and say, hey, can you give me the metadata from this specific signature? They can like literally go back and figure out the city, the state, the time, your address, the computer, the make, the model, everything. And you can actually provide that. So you want to make sure you're actually, and these are quite simple, you know, and so, and also too, when you have people buy into these evergreen programs like this, you also want to follow up with like sending them an email and say, hey, welcome to my program. By the way, here is a copy of the, you know, the terms of use that you check the box in. Welcome to the program. That's a layer of like protection. So if someone says, hey, I didn't sign anything, you know, I don't know what you're talking about, you can say, boom, PayPal or Stripe, here it is. She signed, you know, she purchased it, she put her credit card information in, check the box. Oh, and by the way, I sent them following an email saying, hey, welcome to my program, right? Just want to make sure with that. And that's just, I mean, like I said, very, very simple, you know? And again, you're always, rule of thumb, you're always asking for the money and giving the document at the same time for people to actually look at. I do want to get like a big hiccup is with the whole the membership sites that people are completely oblivious to. And it's this: understand that even though this is an unregulated industry, the FTC is all over the membership sites, okay? And it's because it falls under subscription agreements, like your Netflix, right? Like when Blockbuster was in play, right? There's a level of like, that's a top dog that's actually governing that. Then you've got a whole bunch of state laws that's covering consumers about that. Number one, you cannot use your regular terms and conditions for your regular website, for your membership sites, for your group programs, and for anything that you're taking someone's money and it's like on a recurring program, right? It's recurring billing, number one. You've got to have a separate terms and conditions that they actually are aware of, that they sign either with the check mark or like individually, number two. Number three is like, you want to have like your refund policy specifically in there, and given that it has to be conspicuously stated, it can't be like all buried, you know, under like a whole bunch of like jargon. They have to have automatic right to cancellation, and it has to be all spelled out. So the rule of thumb is like, if you're doing recurring payments or recurring billing, that's FTC material. You've got to follow the laws with that. Otherwise, your site is illegal. You can get shut down, you can get sued, and you have to return all of that revenue, and it does happen.
Wow. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people know that. They just move right into doing group programs and they don't even have these structures and systems in place, which can be really scary. And I think the point here is that like this information is meant to educate everyone that's watching it. It's not meant to scare anyone, but sometimes we have to have these sobering up moments in our businesses where we are going to get honest with ourselves and we are going to say, oh, whoops, I made a mistake here, or I didn't do that, or gosh, I really need, like I said, a business wellness checkup in the area of legal in order to take care of this too. I'd love to hear your thoughts too, as you know, I know we're getting to the top of the hour here, but what do you have to say about people who are offering refunds versus not offering refunds?
You know, it's interesting because I don't know anyone, as far as I've seen it, you know, every program I've ever joined, it's all a no refund policy, right? And you know, legally, I mean, that you can't, from a legal perspective, that is okay as long as that's communicated to that. But I will also feel like, and of course, like in something like my industry with what I'm doing, where it's a digital download, where like if you buy one of my legal bundles, even though I do have a payment plan, you're getting all of my contracts up front. So of course, it makes sense. Of course, I'm going to have a no refund policy. You know what I'm saying? Like, duh, you know, from a business or like a smart perspective. But, you know, I would say to people, if someone isn't quite satisfied, if we want to talk about the whole law of nature and energy, it's like, why aren't you offering a no refund policy? I mean, I was just recently in a program where a lot of people were not pleased with the results. And there was like, the coach had a kid, and I love the kid. I mean, I don't, you know, he was always constantly, you know, in the background. And there was a woman who was quite pissed off about it. And she didn't appreciate the interruptions with the kid, you know, and the coach is responsible. She's not a mom. And I was just like, I'm sorry. To me, that's unprofessional. You know, if someone's paying for something and they're coming into something, they're not getting what they actually asked for in a professional, in a way that they felt it should have been delivered. I mean, in that case, yes, offer that. I think in some cases it should be offered, but it's a case by case basis. And it's like, yes, you're looking at, okay, did you show up? Did you do the work? Okay, and then how did the coach actually show up? And then what are we talking about? Are we talking about an evergreen product where you've already downloaded a program, or has the coach like not fulfilled? You paid for something, but you know the coach, you know, something happens, God forbid they get sick and they don't deliver, they can't deliver on the calls or whatever, right? So in that case, like, you know, it would be apropos to offer a refund policy. But that's got to be made conspicuous. You know, it has to be made up front before you accept the cash. It can't
100%.
be, yeah.
And I think you made a good point. There's two things I just want to do a recap on. Number one is that when you said earlier, take it step by step, because it can be overwhelming when you do a wellness check and you're looking at your business from a legal perspective and you're saying, what do I have in place? What do I not have in place? What is working? What's not? What's legally sound? What's not legally sound? All of these things. Just jot down a list. Don't get overwhelmed about it. And as you're saying, just take it one step at a time. But I think the second thing here, as far as the refunds, no refunds thing goes, is that there's not a universal answer. You know, it depends upon what service or product you're providing in your business, which is another reason why it's so critical to be in relationship with someone like yourself who is going to be able to provide those answers. Because again, if you're in a service-based business, or you're a heart-centered entrepreneur in a service-based business, or even a product-based business, you don't really know all of the laws that are in place, because quite frankly, you didn't go to get all the credentials that are necessary for that, which is why you're doing what you're doing. And as business owners, we always need to be able to reach out to other people who know more than we do, who are experts in a different area than we are. And that's the whole purpose. That's the thing that I love, because I teach people about having a healthy business ecosystem. And part of having a healthy business ecosystem is going to be hiring people to come into your business to take a look at what's healthy, what's not healthy, what needs corrected, what needs updated, and that sort of thing. So I just want to thank you so much for being here today. This information is so helpful. I know everyone who's watching this is learning something of value. And again, for everyone who wants to connect with you further, do you recommend the best place for them to do that is on your website?
Facebook. I mean, because this has been streamed to Facebook. Obviously, yeah, just connect with me on Facebook, send me a message. We can get on a Zoom call. We can, you know, look at your business, see where you're at. What do you need? I can send you all of my, like, I have a Google Doc that has all the different niches of coaches and consultants, and what types of legal documents you need from a very beginnings perspective, you know, from all types of coaches to energy healers. So we can do the whole, and maybe it's trademark and copyrights, right? We can look at that. Maybe if it's all about protecting like your content. So yeah, just reach out to me, because Facebook is my hub.
Awesome. Okay, great. And also her website is posted below this as well. And I have one final question, and that is, what is the most outrageous thing that you have ever encountered as far as legal and business goes?
Oh, the most outrageous thing I've ever encountered. Um, oh my God, give me a second. Give me a second. Here it is. So I started off my career in Miami as a commercial litigator, and I absolutely hated it, right? Because I wanted to do transactional work and international trade work. And I was given the record holding of a divorce case in Miami that was going on for 12 years.
Oh my God.
I mean, just thinking that case, it was insanity.com. I mean, it was just like two people were just so, they were nitpicking over a toothpick, over like, to me, that was just the most like, it was hell. So like, I just couldn't believe like the judges would even keep allowing that to keep going for 12 years. The barber, Betty Barber, and I forget whatever, Richard Barber, that was his name. Oh my God, it was a case from hell. It was just so like, and I was just like, I was miserable. I just, like, can you imagine that? A pending 12-year divorce in court.
Mm.
You know who made out? The attorneys, super rich.
Oh, always, always.
My boss at the time, I mean, he was driving like a Range Rover. His wife had this, his daughter had that. I mean, because it was just like, these people were just like pissing money. It was crazy to me. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me, people. I should actually like look it up and see if they ever,
Right, resolved things.
I mean, that was in 2000. I left my firm in 2003, and it was at 12 years. It was in 2003 still going on. So we'll see what's going on in 2020.
There you go.
He died or something. Kept it going.
I think the point is that it can all be avoided. It depends upon your intentions. And, you know, that's really the key here with everyone in business, is to just take that time, build it into your business structure, build it into your business budget, and make sure that you get these things taken care of, because again, it's really truly going to allow you to just show up as a whole different version of yourself in your business in service to your clients. So Wani, thank you so much for being here. For everyone who's watching this or the replay, you can go over to her website at wanimanley.com, or you can capture the information here to just connect with her directly on Facebook. We wish you all a fabulous rest of the day, and we hope that you have enjoyed and found value in this presentation today.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you, everyone, and all the viewers as well, too. So,
bye, everybody.